Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to read a story called A Fine, Fine School. And you guessed it, we're going to practice character and setting again. Remember, setting is, can you say? Where and when the story takes place. And characters, say it. What are they? You got it. Who or what the story is about. So in this story, boys and girls, the book teaches us the lesson that time in and away from school are both important. And it's a funny story. A fine, fine school. The author, the person who writes the words, is Sharon Creech, and the pictures are by Harry Bliss. Here's the title page. Mr. Keene was a principal who loved his school. Every morning he strolled down the hallway and saw the children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors, numbers and letters. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. Oh, he would say, aren't these fine children? Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? What do you notice about this page? Are there some funny things happening? Look at the dinosaur in this boy's head. Near Mr. Keene's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog, Beans, in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters, and sometimes when she saw Mr. Keene standing in the hallway, he waved. Aren't these fine children? He said to himself. Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? This is repeated often in the story, so feel free to join in with us when you hear that. On the weekends, Saturdays and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree. I'm stuck, get help. And she took Beans on walks and threw him sticks. Let go now, Beans. And she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. Be one with the skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brother did not like to see her go. Hurry, hurry, hurry home, her brother called. One day, Mr. Keene called all the students and teachers together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and of all the learning that they were doing every day. What are you thinking about school on Saturday? What should the kids and the teachers tell the principal? Should they tell him or should they let this happen? What would you guys do if Mr. McGinnis told us we had to have school on Saturdays? And so that Saturday, Tilly set off for school. But it's Saturday. What about the swings? Her brother called. The following months, Mr. Keene announced, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. And so from now on, let's go to school," you guessed it, on Sunday too. The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and of all the learning that they were doing every single day. The following month, And so that Sunday, Tilly set off for school. But it's Sunday. What about skipping? Said her brother. The following month, Mr. King called everyone together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. So from now on," what do you think he's going to say, boys and girls? Can you make a prediction? Turn to someone that's close to you and tell them what you think Mr. King is going to say about going to school. Can you look at the pictures and get an idea? I don't know. They look kind of mad. I bet he's going to say something they didn't like. Let's see. He said, "Let's have more school. And from now on, let's have school on holidays too." Oh my goodness. On Easter and Ramadan and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah, on all those holidays, on every calendar. The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on holidays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. King that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers of all the learning that they were doing every day. And so on Christmas, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Christmas. What about Christmas?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. King called everyone together and said, "You guessed it, this is a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school in the summer too, all summer long, every single day." My, how much will we learn? He said. "We can learn everything. We will learn all about numbers and letters and colors and shapes, the Romans, the Egyptians, and the Greeks. And we will soon learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, on Sundays, on holidays, and all summer long, every single day. But no one knew how to tell Mr. King that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all of their learning they were doing every day. What do you notice, boys and girls, about the illustration? That's the picture. What do you notice about the picture? The teachers and the kids didn't want to go to school every day, did they? And how can you tell that? Look, they're upset. They're mad. I wonder why Mr. Keen's not picking up on that. And so, on the first day of summer, Tilly set off for school. "But it's summer," her brother said. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. King. She stood in his office in front of his desk. "What a fine, fine school this is," Mr. King said. "What amazing things everyone is learning." "Yes," said Tilly, "we certainly are learning some amazing things." "A fine, fine school," Mr. King said. "But," Tilly said, "not everyone is learning." "What?" Mr. King said, and he looked very worried. Who? Who isn't learning? Tell me, and I'll see that they learn." "My dog, Beans. He hasn't learned how to sit," Tilly said, "and he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek." "Oh," Mr. King said. "And my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip." "Oh," Mr. King said. "And she said. "But you go to school," Mr. King said, "to our fine, fine school." "True," Tilly said, "but I haven't learned how to climb a very high tree in my backyard, and I haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour." "Oh," said Mr. King. I wonder if he's catching on. So Tilly's learning things at school, but the things that she wants to learn how to do at home, she doesn't have time to do. That day, Mr. King walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and the teachers. Up and down he walked, up and down, up and down. The next morning, Mr. King called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. King said, "This is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers, but not everyone is learning. The children and teachers were very, very worried. Mr. Keene said, "There are dogs who need to learn how to sit and how to jump over creeks." What do you mean? Was he going to make their dogs come to school? There are little brothers and sisters who need to know how to swing and how to skip. What did he mean? Was he going to make their brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very worried. And you, all of you, children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb a tree and sit in it for an hour, Mr. Keene said. The children and the teachers were very worried. What do you think he's going to say? And so from now on, we will not have school on Saturdays or Sundays or holidays or in the summer. Boys and girls, how do you think everyone felt about that? Turn and tell someone how you know. They're happy. You can see their smiles. A huge, enormous cheer, roaring cheer, soared up to the ceiling and floated out the window so that everyone in the town heard fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers shout, "Fine, fine, fine!" And the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. Keene up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors and through the town and up and down and in and out, and everywhere they went the people said, "What a fine, fine school with such fine, fine teachers and fine, fine children and a fine, fine principal." I'm glad he changed his mind. What lesson did the principal learn in that story? Do you think he learned that it's important to learn things outside of school and to have free time to get good at the things that you love to do? I think he did. How did he learn his lesson? Who helped him to understand? Do you remember that character's name? Turn and tell someone who that was. If you said Tilly, that's right. Boys and girls, good job today. Let's see if you can name. Turn to your neighbor, or turn to your, not your neighbor, turn to someone at home and tell them, who were the characters in that story? If you said Tilly or Mr. Keene or the teachers or the other students or Beans or the little brother, then you're right on track on who a character is. And how about the setting? That's right, the school. Good job, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed that story, and maybe you'll think about some of the things that you really like to do outside of school that you want to get good at. And now you have a time you're at home and you get to take breaks at home, so you get a little bit extra time to practice those things to get good at them. Can't wait to read again with you soon.